Hi everybody, Bob here today. Just walking around in my backyard, decided I'd knock out a video. As you can see, the sun is setting, but it's still above the tree line. Can you see it's my right eye. Probably looks a little red, maybe a little dilated. I had cataract surgery done yesterday, and I can feel the difference in the brightness out here. I probably should have on sunglasses. I'm going to have cataract surgery on my left eye next week. I've been putting this off for a long time, and I'm really glad that I'm finally getting it done. Even though it's only been about 25 hours, I can already see a difference in my vision in my right eye. So I'm really happy about that. It's about time I took care of myself. I didn't have a real strong topic in mind for this video. What I did was go on YouTube and look at all the different, well, not all, but a lot of the different YouTube channels that seem to be dedicated to old people like me, or senior citizens, or retirees, whatever you want to be called. And what I saw was a pattern. Now, I've seen this pattern before, so this is not new. But it seems like people start channels and they kind of, I don't know, maybe if steal is the wrong word, but they copy, they imitate what they've seen before. So what you see, let me get out of the sun here. What you see is a long list of these how-to videos. Here's my tomatoes. It's kind of wilted. This has been an absolutely brutal summer for plants here. A couple of crims that are past due. Anyhow, it's been a rough summer for vegetables. Anyhow, back to what I was talking about. How-to lists, or 5 things nobody ever told me, or what I wish I knew before I retired, or 6 mistakes you should never make, and just all kinds of things. Like, they're all to-do lists is what I call them. It's 5 of this, 3 of that, 10 of this. They're all kind of generic. There's really not a whole heck of a lot of difference between any of them, to be perfectly honest with you. They draw well. I look at the views, and a lot of these people are getting some nice numbers. But to be perfectly honest with you, the topics seem kind of, like I said, boring, kind of generic. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to do those types of videos. I'm going to just do what I want to do. And so I thought what I would do today is just tell y'all a little brief story about what it was like for me growing up as a young teenager, 12, 13, 14. I lived on the coast of Virginia, still do. Lived next door to a reserve Marine camp called Camp Pendleton. Well, in the summer, they would have drills. Marines would get on ships, they'd anchor off the coast, they'd get in their little barks and PT boats and all these different things, and they'd storm the beach there at Pendleton. These were all reservists. Well, they had guns, they had their M16s and all those things, but they didn't have live ammo. What they had were these clips of shells, M16 shells, and they had gunpowder in them. But what they had was a little wad, a piece of cardboard stuck in there. They call them wad cutters. So you could fire them and, it'd make noise and it'd kick back and all that, but there was no bullet in the cartridge. Well, these Marines, when they came ashore, they'd start stripping that stuff off as fast as they possibly could because it was heavy. It was weighing them down. So they'd leave stuff, all kinds of stuff, laying on the beach. At the end of the day, before anybody had an opportunity to go pick that stuff up, a bunch of us kids would go down there. Back in those days, they didn't have much security. Actually, they didn't have any security. So you could go walk on the beach and just walk right into the camp and go scavenging, and start picking up these souvenirs. And I tell you, when you're 12, 13 years old, this is cool stuff. You're picking up clips of ammo and what do they call them, bandoliers, and just all kinds of stuff. Every now and then there'd be a helmet maybe or something like that. So we'd collect these things. And then later we would go have our own war games. A bunch of us kids, we all had BB guns, and we'd go back into this state park that's right by the beach in the bay, and we'd split up into teams and we started hunting each other with BB guns. I had a little pump action BB rifle, and we'd go looking for each other. We were trying to hide from each other and take each other by surprise, and we'd go looking, and if you saw one of the other guys, you'd shoot him. I mean, it was crazy. It was really stupid, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. By the end of the day, you'd have whelps all over your arms and legs, and luckily nobody ever got shot in the face. Nobody lost an eye or anything really bad like that, but it could have happened. So we'd shoot ourselves and do all kinds of nonsense, and we would bring those shells with us that were full of gunpowder. And we'd stick a hole in there and pop the wad cutter out and dump the gunpowder into a big pile. And then we'd throw a match or something on it, and it'd blow up. And we'd have a ball, or it'd burn real fast. And sometimes we would take those shells and stick a firecracker in it. Light the firecracker and run like crazy, because when that firecracker went off, it exploded the gunpowder, and of course the metal casing would blow all over the place. So, I mean, we were crazy, It was really stupid, but we had a lot of fun doing that. Nobody ever got hurt, seriously, thank God. Could have, but it was just one of those little fun memories I had, me and the boys. This was pre-girl, okay? This is before anybody really hit puberty, and none of us really cared about girls yet. We were just a bunch of boys out, hanging out, having fun, just doing boy stuff. And it was fun. It really was a lot of fun. So that was just a little fond memory I had that popped. I hadn't thought about that in quite a long while, so I thought I'd just pass it on to you. Now, I talked to my cousin earlier today. He lives in Michigan. He's 77, I'm 78. We grew up across the street from each other, so we're almost like brothers. He's got some health issues, some heart issues, and kidney stones he's had all his life. That's causing all kinds of problems for him. But we were talking about health, and this is a favorite topic, I know, for folks who are seniors. But it reminded me of a saying I heard a guy say not too long ago, just a few days ago actually. And what he said was, if you have your health, you have hundreds of problems. I get that. If you have your health, you have hundreds of problems. But if you don't have your health, you only have one. Think about that. That made a lot of sense to me. It really did. It was a great way to put things in perspective. If you have your health, you got hundreds of problems. If you don't have your health, you only got one. I think a bunch of us can relate to that, can't we? The whole thing, it seems to me, about growing old is, am I healthy? How long do I want to live? I want to live as long as I'm healthy. And as soon as my health goes, I'm ready to check out. I don't want to be in a wheelchair in a nursing home with drool coming down my face and just staring at a wall. No, thank you. No, thank you. As long as I'm healthy and I'm walking and talking and doing okay, then I'm fine. But man, once the health goes, you might as well check out, because there's nothing much left to live for. That's my opinion now. Nobody else has to buy into that. I'm just expressing how I see it, okay? So let's look around at a couple more things. Here's some beets that I never pulled out. They didn't do too well. Got a strawberry bed over here. Here's some more tomatoes. You see the little grape tomatoes. Here's some better boys. Little basil that's gone to flower, as you can tell. Little saffron over there, and a little rosemary over there. Here's my strawberry patch. I'll thin this out later in the fall. Over here, I've got a bed. I'm going to plant some kale. I love kale. I love fresh greens. So, I don't know what else to share with you today. You know, I said when I started this channel that it was going to be very rough, and it is, as you can tell. It's 100% edit free, and I'm going to leave it that way for the time being. I do want to learn how to edit though, so you might, over time, you might start seeing me sneak in a few different cuts, some transitions and things like that. I look at some of these people on YouTube who are pretty new at this, but their videos are highly edited. They're very technical, very technically edited and polished. They never go, and I said, how in the world do people talk for 15 straight minutes and never skip a beat? I can't do that. I couldn't begin to do that. And I don't think they do either. I think they figured out a way to edit so that you can't tell when there's a break. But that ain't me. So don't expect real glossy stuff here, okay? What you hear from me is just good old-fashioned my opinion. I was going to say the truth, but that's relative, isn't it? I'll tell you my opinion. I guarantee you that much. So I guess I'm going to go now. I'm going to go put this up on YouTube. If you see this and you think you like what I'm doing, I really, really, really encourage you to hit subscribe and make a comment. If you've got a story that you'd like to tell, put it in the comment section. What I've learned is that YouTube algorithm really likes it when people make comments, because it shows them that people are interested in what you're doing, and they're more likely to show your videos. So even if all you do is say just for the algorithm, that's fine. Just do that and put it in a comment. And there's a subscribe button in the description. I hope you'll do it. At any rate, I'll be posting another. Today's what, Wednesday? I'll get another one out by the end of the week. All right, y'all take care. Talk to you soon.